Have you ever stopped to wonder why you feel a certain way after spending time with someone? Why sometimes just being around certain people leaves you energized, hopeful, ready to take on the world, while others drain your spirit, leaving you tired, doubtful, and stuck? What if I told you that the people you choose to spend your time with are silently shaping who you become, your habits, your thoughts, even your future? It's easy to overlook this, but the truth is simple and profound. You become like the people you spend time with. This is not just a cliché, it's the invisible force that molds your life, your mindset, and your destiny. Think about that for a moment. The people you surround yourself with create the air you breathe daily. Their energy fills your space, their words echo in your mind, and their beliefs slowly become your own. If you want to change your life, it's not enough to set goals or wish for a better future. You have to change your environment, the circle you walk with. This might feel uncomfortable or even scary, but it is the key to unlocking the best version of yourself. Imagine waking up every day knowing you are supported by people who believe in your dreams, who challenge you to rise, who inspire you to act. That kind of company doesn't just happen. It is chosen with intention and courage. Now, why should you listen closely to this message? Because the quality of your relationships is the quality of your life. When you spend time with positive, driven, and uplifting people, you absorb their strengths, their confidence, and their habits. You start thinking bigger and believing more deeply in what's possible. On the other hand, if you stay surrounded by doubt, negativity, or complacency, you will feel those forces creeping into your own heart. This is not about blame or judgment. It's about awareness and choice. You hold the power to choose your circle, and by doing so, you decide the kind of person you will become. This knowledge is a gift. It means you are never trapped by your past or current circumstances. Change is possible, starting with the people you allow into your life. The journey to becoming your highest self begins here. You don't need to be perfect. You don't need to do it all at once, but you do need to be intentional. To protect your dreams, you must protect your time and energy from influences that do not serve your growth. As you listen, I want you to feel the weight and the hope of this truth. Imagine the freedom that comes from choosing relationships that build you up rather than tear you down. Imagine the confidence that grows when your circle supports your goals, your courage when your tribe lifts you in moments of doubt. This is why it matters so deeply. Because your future self depends on the choices you make today. Not just the choices you make alone, but the choices about who stands beside you. So stay with me through this message. Together we'll uncover how the people around you are shaping your reality. And more importantly, how you can choose wisely to become the person you were always meant to be. Your life is waiting. Your circle is waiting. The time to choose is now. The people you spend time with don't just influence you on the surface. They change your brain, your habits, your very way of thinking. Your mind is wired to connect, to mirror, and to adapt based on who surrounds you. It's a deep biological truth that the emotions, attitudes, and behaviors of those around you literally shape your brain's wiring. When you are near someone who believes in growth, who faces challenges with courage, your brain starts to adopt those same patterns. When you're near someone who doubts, complains, or settles, your brain picks up on that too. This is not just coincidence. It's how we are designed to survive and thrive as social beings. Your brain contains mirror neurons, tiny biological mechanisms that help you feel what others feel, imitate their actions, and even adopt their beliefs without conscious effort. This means your thoughts and emotions are contagious. If your circle carries fear, hesitation, or negativity, those feelings begin to live inside you. If your circle breathes confidence, passion, and resilience, those qualities become part of who you are. It's impossible to overstate how powerful this effect is. It's happening silently all the time, beneath your awareness, quietly shaping your reality. This is why the company you keep is one of the most important decisions you will ever make. Think about how often you catch yourself speaking or acting like those closest to you, maybe even without realizing it. That's your brain adapting, your identity being formed. You are a reflection of your environment, a product of the collective energy around you. This explains why changing your mindset, no matter how hard you try, can feel impossible if the people around you are holding you back. You can want to be different, but if you live with doubt and fear every day, your brain will struggle to rewire itself. But when you change your environment, when you surround yourself with people who embody the qualities you aspire to, you begin to reprogram your brain for success, confidence, and growth. This science is an invitation to take radical responsibility for your environment. It's an act of self-care, self-respect, and fierce determination to become your best self. When you choose your circle wisely, you set yourself up to absorb energy that fuels your ambitions rather than drains them. You create a feedback loop of inspiration and growth that propels you forward. This is how success becomes sustainable, through consistent exposure to the right influences that elevate your mindset every single day. Now, imagine the power you hold when you understand this truth fully. Your social connections are not random. They are choices that build your brain and your future. This is not about cutting people out harshly, but about aligning your life with those who elevate your spirit and challenge your limits. It is about seeking connection that pushes you to grow, not settle, that sparks courage, not fear. The company you keep is the soil from which your dreams grow. If that soil is rich and fertile, your potential can bloom fully. If it is barren or toxic, no amount of effort will flourish. This understanding demands action, a bold, courageous choice to take control of your environment. It means honoring your growth by investing time and energy in relationships that serve your transformation. The science is clear. The proof is undeniable. To change your life, start by changing who you spend your time with. Your future self is waiting to thank you for this choice. Now that you understand how deeply your brain is shaped by those around you, it's time to look inward. Take a moment and ask yourself, who are the people closest to you? Who occupies your daily thoughts and fills your hours? These individuals aren't just names or faces. They are powerful forces influencing your mindset, your emotions, your choices. The truth is, they are mirrors reflecting back the person you are becoming. What do those reflections reveal? Are they showing strength, hope, and ambition? Or are they clouded by doubt, fear, and limitation? This reflection is not about judgment or blame. It is about clarity, a necessary and raw honesty about the company you keep. When you look at your inner circle, consider what emotions surface. Do you feel energized and supported? Or do you feel weighed down and uncertain? Your feelings around these people are signals. They tell you whether this circle fuels your growth or feeds your stagnation. This emotional connection is the invisible thread that binds you to your environment. It determines whether your soul feels free to expand or trapped in a cycle of frustration and self-doubt. Your emotional well-being depends heavily on these connections because emotions are the language your mind uses to process experiences and form beliefs. If you constantly experience negativity, your brain learns to expect and mirror that negativity. Being honest with yourself about these relationships is an act of bravery. It requires confronting uncomfortable truths and possibly facing the fear of change. But this courage is the very foundation of transformation. You deserve to be surrounded by people who believe in your dreams as much as you do. You deserve to be with those who challenge your limits kindly and lift you when you falter. This is not an indulgence, it is a necessity. Without this support, your ambitions will feel heavier, your confidence will waver, and your potential will remain locked away. The people you spend time with don't just share your moments, they share your mindset. They shape your habits, your language, and your vision of what's possible. Ask yourself if your current circle is holding you to the highest version of yourself, or if it's comfortable keeping you where you are. Comfort is seductive because it masks the pain of growth with familiarity. But comfort is also a trap, one that prevents you from stepping into your full power. Growth demands discomfort. It demands that you seek company that stretches you, challenges your excuses, and ignites your passion. This kind of company is rare but priceless. It's a treasure you create by making intentional choices about who you allow close to your life. You are the gatekeeper of your energy. This means you have the power and the responsibility to curate the people who influence your mindset and your life. If you want to reach heights you've only dreamed of, your circle must reflect that vision. It must be a source of strength, inspiration, and unwavering belief. This is how change becomes inevitable. This is how transformation takes root and grows. Your circle is your foundation. What you build today depends on the quality of the ground beneath your feet. Take this moment to honestly reflect and recognize what your circle is truly giving you, and decide if it's enough to carry you to your dreams. Energy is the invisible currency that flows between people. Every interaction deposits or withdraws from your emotional and mental bank account. When you spend time with those who carry light, hope, and determination, your own reserves fill. You feel alive, inspired, and capable of more. But when you linger in the presence of negativity, doubt, or fear, your energy slowly drains away, often without you noticing. This exchange happens in subtle ways, through tone of voice, body language, even the unspoken beliefs that seep into your mind. You might not realize how deeply this affects you until you step away and feel the weight lift or settle more heavily on your shoulders. This energy shapes not just your mood but your entire approach to life. It either fuels your courage or feeds your hesitation. Your emotional state is contagious. It travels fast and sticks close, like an invisible thread connecting you to the people around you. If your circle is saturated with anxiety, frustration, or pessimism, you will find those feelings reflecting inside you. But if your circle radiates calm, confidence, and possibility, you absorb those qualities naturally. This isn't a vague theory. It's how human brains evolved to survive and thrive in groups. We are wired to sync emotionally with others, because connection is the foundation of existence. This means your emotional well-being is not just a personal responsibility, but also a social one. Protecting yourself means protecting your environment. It means recognizing when the energy you receive is toxic and choosing to distance yourself from it, even if it feels uncomfortable or unfamiliar at first. Imagine the difference it makes to wake up each day surrounded by people whose energy encourages you to keep going. Their belief in themselves and in you creates a safety net that catches doubts before they spiral into defeat. This kind of energy is a force multiplier. It makes hard work feel lighter and setbacks less crushing. It changes your entire perception of what's possible. When your circle's energy uplifts you, it rewires your brain to expect success, resilience, and growth. You stop fearing failure because you know you are supported. You start taking risks because you feel grounded. This energy fuels momentum, and momentum breeds results. The problem is that many stay stuck with energy that holds them back because it feels familiar or because they fear loneliness. But holding on to draining energy comes at a great cost. It dims your light slowly, eroding your dreams one moment at a time. The more you accept that energy, the more it becomes part of your identity, a barrier to the person you were born to become. Choosing your company wisely is not about cutting people out without thought. It's about protecting the energy that fuels your growth. It's about creating space for positivity to thrive. It's about recognizing that your environment is the soil where your future grows. If that soil is poisoned by negative energy, your roots will struggle to reach the light. To live a life full of passion, courage, and success, you must guard your energy fiercely. Surround yourself with those who replenish your spirit, who challenge you lovingly, and who inspire your best self. The energy you absorb becomes the energy you emit. This cycle will either trap you or set you free. Choose the energy that sets you free. Choose the energy that builds your dreams. Your life depends on it. There is a silent comfort in familiarity. We cling to people who feel safe, even when they hold us back. This comfort is deceptive. It masquerades as security but quietly suffocates our growth. We fear change because it feels uncertain and risky. Yet, what we often fail to realize is that comfort without growth is a cage disguised as home. When your circle stays the same, so do you. The habits, beliefs, and limits of those around you become the boundaries of your world. This is the comfort trap, a quiet prison built by fear of discomfort and rejection. But true transformation demands breaking free from this illusion. It requires the courage to step beyond what's easy and familiar and to embrace the discomfort of becoming someone new. Growth is never comfortable. It stretches you, shakes you, and forces you to confront parts of yourself you'd rather ignore. When you choose to surround yourself with people who challenge your comfort, you open the door to possibility. These are the people who ask the tough questions, who don't settle for excuses, who push you to rise even when it hurts. Their presence stirs something inside you, a restless hunger for more, a refusal to accept less than your full potential. This discomfort is the soil where your dreams take root. Without it, your ambitions wither under the weight of complacency. Yet, discomfort alone isn't enough. It must be balanced with support, a circle that believes in your capacity to change and grow. This is where the right company becomes invaluable. They hold space for your struggle without judgment, celebrate your victories without envy, and remind you of your worth when you forget it yourself. This balance of challenge and support creates a powerful dynamic that fuels sustained growth. It is the foundation of lasting transformation. When you experience this kind of connection, fear loses its grip, and courage becomes your natural response. Choosing to leave the comfort trap is not about abandoning loyalty or connection. It's about recognizing that love and growth are not mutually exclusive. True loyalty is rooted in honesty and the desire to see each other thrive. Sometimes loving yourself means choosing distance from those who unintentionally keep you stuck. This choice is an act of self-respect, a declaration that your growth matters. It is the ultimate form of courage because it defies the fear of loneliness and embraces the unknown. This courage sets a powerful example, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. It shows that you value your future enough to make hard decisions today. The comfort trap is a silent thief of dreams, but you hold the key to freedom. It starts with awareness, seeing where you have settled and why. Then comes the willingness to lean into discomfort, to seek out new connections that challenge and inspire. This process will test your resolve and push you beyond limits you thought were fixed. But with each step, you will find yourself stronger, clearer, and more alive. The people you choose to walk with on this journey will shape your identity, your mindset, and your destiny. So choose courage over comfort, choose growth over stagnation. Choose to surround yourself with those who will pull you toward your highest self. Because the life you dream of is waiting just beyond the edge of your comfort zone. Every relationship you nurture sends a message to your subconscious mind about what you deserve and what is possible for you. When your circle celebrates your victories, no matter how small, it teaches your mind that success is natural and attainable. When your circle listens without judgment during your struggles, it shows you that vulnerability is strength, not weakness. These subtle signals are internalized deeply, shaping your self-worth and your belief in your own potential. But when your environment dismisses your dreams, belittles your efforts, or keeps you stuck in cycles of doubt, it rewires your brain toward limitation. The people you surround yourself with become the architects of your self-belief, building either foundations of confidence or walls of insecurity. This influence is not accidental. It is woven into the fabric of human connection. We seek validation from those closest to us because their opinions and reactions have been survival signals for millennia. When they believe in us, our brains release chemicals that enhance motivation and resilience. When they don't, our inner drive falters. This is why negative or unsupportive relationships can feel like an invisible weight pulling you down. They steal your energy and rewrite your story in ways you might not even notice. But the reverse is true too. Surrounding yourself with those who inspire and uplift rewires your brain to expect greatness. It changes how you see challenges, from insurmountable walls to temporary obstacles you can overcome. Your mind is constantly absorbing the language, beliefs, and attitudes of those you spend time with. This absorption doesn't happen because you consciously decide to take it in, but because your brain is wired to mimic and learn from social cues. You might start adopting the doubts, fears, or excuses of those around you without realizing it. Conversely, when you spend time with people who approach life with optimism, discipline, and courage, those qualities seep into your subconscious. You begin to think and act differently, more boldly, more consistently, more aligned with your highest goals. This process happens quietly but relentlessly. It is how your environment carves your identity. Recognizing this truth means recognizing your power. You are not a passive victim of your circumstances. You are an active participant in shaping your mental landscape by choosing your circle. The quality of your relationships becomes the soil in which your dreams either flourish or falter. This is why surrounding yourself with the right people is not a luxury or a trivial decision. It is a strategic necessity. If you want to rewrite your story, to break free from patterns that limit you, you must be intentional about who influences your thoughts and emotions. The energy you absorb from your circle forms a lens through which you view your life and your possibilities. If you want to see opportunities where others see obstacles, if you want to feel confidence where others feel fear, your circle must reflect those qualities. This is the hidden power of connection, the unseen force that determines whether you rise or remain stuck. Choose your company with fierce intentionality. Your future depends on it. The path to transformation begins here, in the company you keep, shaping who you become and what you believe you can achieve. Your thoughts and beliefs are not born in isolation. They are nurtured, reinforced, and sometimes limited by the people you spend the most time with. When your circle shares a mindset of possibility, resilience, and determination, it becomes a breeding ground for your own growth. Your brain starts to map out new pathways that align with these values. Every conversation, every shared idea, every moment of encouragement acts like a brick in the foundation of your evolving identity. On the other hand, if your circle is filled with doubt, criticism, or complacency, your mind begins to accept those limits as truth. This process happens quietly but relentlessly, shaping the very core of who you are and who you believe you can become. Beliefs are powerful forces. They are the lens through which you interpret every experience, every challenge, and every opportunity. If your beliefs are built on negativity or fear, your actions will reflect that. You will hold back, hesitate, and settle for less than you deserve. But when your beliefs are grounded in possibility and courage, you find strength in adversity. You push through barriers and take risks that others shy away from. The company you keep is a direct influence on these beliefs. They either reinforce your fears or fuel your courage. This is why choosing your circle is not just a matter of social preference. It is a strategic decision that directly impacts your future. The people around you are living examples of what you believe is possible for yourself. When you see them succeed, overcome obstacles, or live boldly, it sends a signal to your brain that you can do the same. This isn't wishful thinking. It's a neurological response. Your brain mirrors the attitudes and behaviors of those you respect and admire. This means that by surrounding yourself with people who embody the qualities you desire, you are programming your mind to act accordingly. Conversely, if your circle doubts, complains, or resists change, your mind absorbs those attitudes and makes them part of your reality. You become a reflection of your environment, sometimes in ways you never consciously choose. Understanding this gives you a powerful tool for transformation. It means your growth is not solely dependent on willpower or talent, but also on the quality of your social connections. This is an invitation to take control of your environment with intention and courage. It means actively seeking out relationships that inspire you to be better, that challenge your excuses, and that celebrate your progress. These connections become the catalyst for change, pushing you toward the person you are meant to become. Your circle can either be your greatest asset or your biggest obstacle. It can lift you higher than you thought possible or hold you back in familiar patterns of doubt and fear. The choice is yours. To create a life of courage, purpose, and growth, you must be deliberate about who you allow into your world. Your beliefs, your mindset, and ultimately your destiny are shaped by this decision. Choose wisely. Your future self depends on it. Every thought, every belief, every habit you hold is deeply influenced by the people you surround yourself with. This influence is subtle but unrelenting. Your mind is like a sponge, absorbing the attitudes, language, and energy of those closest to you. When your circle radiates positivity, ambition, and resilience, you unconsciously begin to adopt those qualities. Your brain creates new neural pathways that reinforce strength, hope, and determination. But if your environment is saturated with negativity, fear, or complacency, your mind internalizes those patterns too. Slowly, without you realizing it, you start thinking, speaking, and acting in ways that mirror those around you. This is why your circle doesn't just affect your mood. It shapes your identity. Your identity is the foundation upon which your entire life is built. It determines the goals you pursue, the risks you take, and the boundaries you set. If your identity is rooted in doubt or limitation, your potential remains locked away, waiting to be unleashed. But when your identity is anchored in belief and possibility, your actions follow naturally, creating momentum toward your dreams. The people you choose to spend time with are the architects of this identity. They either build it up or tear it down brick by brick. This is not about superficial influence, but about the deep, often unconscious process of becoming. You are, quite literally, the sum of the energy and beliefs you allow to surround you. The power of this truth lies in its call to responsibility. You are not a passive passenger in your life. You have the agency to choose who shapes your mindset and who influences your journey. This choice demands awareness and courage. Awareness to see how your current relationships affect your inner world, and courage to make changes, even when it feels uncomfortable. Because transformation rarely happens in comfort zones. It requires stepping into uncertainty, risking rejection, and letting go of familiar but limiting connections. This is the price of growth. But it is also the gateway to freedom, the freedom to become the person you were always meant to be. When you begin to curate your circle with intention, something remarkable happens. You start to notice shifts in your thinking, your energy, and your confidence. The doubts that once echoed loudly become whispers. The fear that once paralyzed you turns into a challenge to overcome. Your environment becomes a powerful ally, amplifying your strengths and helping you push past your limits. This is how transformation becomes sustainable, not through sheer willpower alone, but through the consistent influence of positive, growth-oriented relationships. Choosing your circle wisely is the most impactful decision you can make. It's not about avoiding all negativity or hardship, but about prioritizing relationships that elevate your spirit and align with your highest goals. Your circle is your foundation. What you build on it depends on its strength and quality. By surrounding yourself with those who embody courage, vision, and resilience, you create an environment where your dreams don't just survive, they thrive. This is the secret to lasting change. This is how you become who you were born to be. The energy you absorb daily becomes the fuel that powers your mind, body, and spirit. It is invisible but undeniably real. When you spend time with people who uplift, inspire, and challenge you, this energy acts like a catalyst, accelerating your growth and expanding your vision. You begin to see possibilities where before there were only walls. Your confidence deepens, not because you suddenly possess some secret power, but because your environment consistently affirms your potential. This steady reinforcement rewires your brain, making resilience and courage your default responses. On the other hand, when your circle drains your energy with negativity, doubt, or stagnation, it slowly erodes your will to pursue greatness. The subtle messages you receive, whether through words, attitudes, or silence, shape your sense of worth and your belief in what is achievable. This is why energy matters so profoundly. It sets the tone for your entire life. Your environment is a mirror reflecting your inner state and also a mold shaping your future self. When you consciously choose to surround yourself with those who embody the qualities you aspire to, you tap into a powerful force for change. This is not about imitation, but about resonance. The attitudes and behaviors you absorb become the natural extension of your own values and ambitions. This is how transformation becomes organic. You don't have to fight your nature, you realign it. By engaging with people who are driven, optimistic, and disciplined, you create an ecosystem where growth is inevitable. The challenge is to recognize the difference between temporary comfort and lasting growth. Comfort may soothe the moment, but growth fuels your purpose and your legacy. Choosing the right circle is also an act of self-love and respect. It means valuing your time, your energy, and your dreams enough to protect them fiercely. This choice demands clarity and boundaries. Clarity to see who truly supports your vision and who hinders it. Boundaries to distance yourself from negativity and drain. When you make this choice, you send a powerful message to yourself and to the world that your growth is non-negotiable. You refuse to settle for less than what you deserve. This mindset attracts like-minded individuals who respect your commitment and mirror your dedication. Your circle becomes a reflection of your standards and aspirations. Transformation is not a solo journey. The right people accelerate your progress, hold you accountable, and remind you of your strength when doubt creeps in. They celebrate your wins authentically and challenge you when complacency threatens to take hold. This dynamic creates a momentum that is difficult to stop. It pushes you beyond limits you once accepted as fixed. You begin to realize that your potential is far greater than you imagined, simply because your environment demanded more from you. This is the unseen power of connection. It transforms your mindset, your habits, and ultimately your destiny. To live a life of courage, purpose, and relentless growth, your circle must be intentional and empowering. Surround yourself with those who ignite your passion and challenge your limits. Let their energy fuel your fire. Choose wisely, because this choice shapes not just your present, but your future. The people you spend time with are not just companions. They are the architects of your identity and the catalysts of your transformation. Your life will reflect the company you keep. Make it a reflection you're proud of. If you want to evolve, you cannot afford to remain in the presence of those who keep you rooted in the same place. Growth demands movement, and movement demands space, mental, emotional, and spiritual. When you're surrounded by people who resist change, your ambition begins to feel like a threat, not a possibility. Their comfort with stagnation becomes a silent pressure pulling you back, even when your heart is ready to leap forward. This friction is subtle but dangerous. It makes you question your goals, doubt your instincts, and settle for less than you know you're capable of. You don't need permission to grow, but the wrong company can make you feel like you do. That feeling alone can be enough to hold you back for years. The truth is, your environment either fans your flame or suffocates it. You cannot light a fire and expect it to thrive in the rain. It needs oxygen, it needs space, it needs heat. In the same way, your dreams need the right atmosphere to survive and thrive. When you're around people who believe in progress, who speak about goals, who act with intention, it begins to change the rhythm of your thinking. Their momentum becomes contagious. It begins to carry you even when your own energy feels low. That's the power of an aligned circle. They don't just lift you when you're rising, they carry you when you stumble. They don't let you forget who you are or what you said you would do. They hold the mirror up, not to reflect your flaws, but to remind you of your power. The wrong people, even when well-meaning, will always underestimate your capacity. They will tell you to slow down, to be realistic, to be grateful with what you have. Not because they are evil, but because your growth threatens the comfort they've built around mediocrity. Your ambition exposes their inaction, your courage highlights their fear. Instead of rising with you, they try to pull you down to keep the balance intact. But your life is not a compromise between your potential and their comfort. You are not born to play small so others don't feel insecure. You were born to rise, to stretch, to become more. And that journey requires people who cheer for your success, not people who silently hope you fail so they don't have to change. Protect your environment like your life depends on it, because it does. Your mind, your energy, your potential, all of it is at the mercy of what surrounds you daily. Be bold enough to walk away from what no longer aligns with your vision. Be brave enough to walk toward those who challenge and elevate you. That transition may feel lonely at first, but it is in that space that your true tribe will find you. The ones who don't just tolerate your growth, they demand it. They see your greatness and call it forward. They don't compete with your light, they reflect it. And with them, you rise, not occasionally, but continuously. Growth requires alignment, not partial, not occasional, complete alignment between your values, your vision, and your environment. You can't plant a seed in toxic soil and expect it to flourish. No matter how much potential that seed holds, the ground must support it. Your circle is that ground. If it's filled with judgment, cynicism, or fear, it will poison your belief before it has a chance to take root. But when your environment reflects your highest standards, when those around you speak in a language of purpose, grit, and hope, something powerful happens inside of you. Your inner dialogue begins to shift. The voice that once said, maybe someday, starts saying, why not now? That shift, subtle yet life-changing, begins with who you allow into your mental and emotional space. You're not just looking for company, you're seeking mirrors, people who reflect your strength even when you forget it, who challenge your excuses and remind you of your goals, people who don't flinch when you speak your dreams out loud but instead say, let's make it happen. These are the relationships that shape your destiny. They don't just fill time, they build you. And when you're surrounded by builders, by visionaries, by people who've chosen growth over comfort, something unlocks in you. You stop asking for validation. You stop shrinking to fit into outdated molds. You begin to expand unapologetically. You begin to own your journey with a new level of confidence. It's not about being perfect. It's about being intentional. You're allowed to outgrow people. You're allowed to choose peace over drama. You're allowed to say no to conversations that drain you. That isn't selfish. It's survival. Because every moment you spend with the wrong energy costs you momentum. Every minute you invest in someone who doesn't respect your direction pulls you further from your destination. Time is your most limited resource, and the people who surround you shape how you spend it. Protect that investment like your future depends on it, because it does. Your standards should be high, not because you think you're better than anyone else, but because you know what's at stake. You've seen what happens when you settle, when you surround yourself with people who don't believe in more. You've felt that slow erosion of drive, that quiet resignation that whispers, maybe this is it. But deep down, you know it isn't. You were meant for more, and the people you walk with should remind you of that truth daily. Not with empty words, but with how they live, how they act, how they support and challenge you. Their presence should fuel your purpose. This is your wake-up call. Stop waiting for the right moment, or start curating the right environment. Because once you make that shift, once you begin walking with people who demand excellence, who breathe belief, who reflect your vision, everything changes. Your mindset sharpens, your goals crystallize, your actions become aligned. And suddenly your life begins to reflect the greatness you always knew you had within you. When you elevate your standards, you trigger a transformation, not just in yourself, but in how the world responds to you. Suddenly, what once felt normal becomes uncomfortable. The gossip, the complaining, the small talk that goes nowhere, it no longer fits who you're becoming. And that discomfort is not a sign of arrogance, it's growth. It's the moment your soul recognizes that your time, your energy, your purpose are too important to waste. You begin to crave depth. You crave conversations that stretch your mind, connections that build your strength, and relationships that reinforce your future, not your past. That craving is clarity. It's your inner compass pointing you toward what's aligned and away from what's just familiar. The people you keep around you aren't neutral. They are either pulling you closer to your best self or pushing you further from it. That's not dramatic. It's reality. Energy is contagious. The mindset of those closest to you bleeds into your decisions, your discipline, your vision. If they quit on their goals, you'll start to question yours. If they settle, you'll start to wonder if maybe you should too. But if they grind, if they strive, if they hold themselves to a higher level, you will rise with them. Without even realizing it, you'll match their energy, their hunger, their commitment. And that shift becomes your new normal. You weren't made to stay small. But staying small becomes easier when you're surrounded by people who never challenge the limits. So ask yourself honestly, are the people in your life pushing you to be better, or are they pulling you back into comfort? Are they growing alongside you, Or are they asking you to slow down so they can keep up? Because here's the truth you can't ignore. Comfort zones are contagious, but so is growth. You just have to choose which one you'll breathe in every day. The excuses you tolerate around you are the ones you start to believe. If everyone you talk to justifies laziness, you'll eventually start lowering your effort. If everyone mocks ambition, you'll start hiding your drive. That's how powerful your circle is. It doesn't just influence your habits, it rewrites your internal dialogue. But when you upgrade your circle, you upgrade your identity. You begin to speak differently, move differently, think differently. You hold yourself to the standards they reflect. Not because you're trying to impress them, but because they've reminded you what you're capable of. Their example becomes your inspiration. Their consistency becomes your challenge. Their success becomes your mirror. You owe it to yourself to make that shift. Not later, now. Audit the energy you allow into your life. Remove what drains, multiply what fuels, and protect what matters. Because when your circle matches your mission, your growth becomes inevitable. No more shrinking, no more waiting, no more pretending to be less than who you are. You are the architect of your environment. Choose it with the same intensity you want to live your life. Boldly, relentlessly, unapologetically. Every decision you make about who you allow into your space is a declaration of your self-worth. If you surround yourself with apathy, you're telling yourself that your goals don't matter. If you accept mediocrity, you're silently agreeing to settle. But when you begin choosing relationships that elevate your thinking, that challenge your habits, that hold you accountable to your highest potential, you send a message to your subconscious, I am worth more than average. That message becomes your new standard. It starts echoing in your choices, your routines, your discipline. You stop showing up half-hearted. You stop tolerating energy that drains your focus. You start respecting yourself through the company you keep. It's not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Clear about who supports your mission, who strengthens your focus, who fuels your fire. The people in your life don't need to be perfect, but they need to be purposeful. They need to stand for something. They need to want more, not just for themselves, but for everyone around them. Because when you're surrounded by that kind of energy, your progress accelerates. Doubt loses its power. Procrastination fades. Excuses get drowned out by a louder voice. The voice of progress, the voice of belief, the voice of relentless forward motion. You begin to understand something powerful. You were never lazy. You were uninspired. You weren't broken. You were just surrounded by people who didn't reflect the strength inside you. And the moment that environment changes, you change. You wake up differently. You walk into each day with a deeper sense of urgency. You no longer waste time explaining your dreams to people who can't see them. You protect your energy like it's your purpose, because it is. Every great move you'll ever make begins with clarity. And clarity is born when noise is removed and vision is respected. The truth is, people influence your standards more than your willpower ever will. You can have all the ambition in the world, but if you're surrounded by comfort, that ambition will rot. But if you place yourself in a space where excellence is expected, where focus is celebrated, where discomfort is part of growth, then mediocrity becomes unbearable. You start choosing harder paths not because they're painful, but because you've seen what's possible on the other side. You've seen what success looks like up close, and you refuse to look away. The greatest investment you can make isn't just in books or tools or systems, it's in alignment, in proximity to people who reflect your next level, not your last one. That alignment creates energy, and energy creates momentum. Suddenly, the impossible feels inevitable, not because it got easier, but because you got stronger, more focused, more connected to your mission. And it all began the moment you stopped asking, do they like me? And started asking, do they elevate me? That's the shift. That's the power. That's where everything changes. You don't rise by accident. You rise by design. And that design is shaped by the people you allow into your inner world. If you're surrounded by those who make excuses, you start believing limitations are facts. If you're constantly hearing why something can't be done, your ambition starts to whisper instead of roar. But when you're in the presence of those who push boundaries, who question limits, who refuse to be defined by circumstance, your entire identity begins to shift. You start thinking bigger. You stop asking for permission. You stop waiting for perfect conditions. You begin to understand that success is not about talent alone. It's about environment. It's about exposure. It's about what and who you're constantly around. The human brain is built to adapt. What you see often you normalize. If everyone around you speaks in doubt, doubt becomes your language. But if you constantly hear vision, discipline, resilience, your mind adjusts. You begin to speak with certainty. You start acting with conviction. And that transformation isn't magic. It's psychology. It's what happens when your environment reflects your highest potential instead of your lowest patterns. The people you spend time with program your mindset. They don't just influence your mood, they shape your identity. And identity is everything. Because once your identity changes, your behavior follows. You can try to be strong on your own. You can tell yourself you don't need anyone. But the truth is, you're not meant to grow in isolation. You're meant to rise through alignment. When you align with people who challenge your thinking, who expand your standards, who remind you who you truly are, that's when growth becomes exponential. That's when discipline stops feeling like a chore and starts feeling like a lifestyle. That's when sacrifice turns into strategy. And every action you take starts building something real, something lasting, something you're proud of. You won't find that energy in every room. Not every crowd is meant for your next chapter. Some were only meant to know the older version of you. And as painful as that is to accept, it's also freeing. You don't have to keep proving yourself to people who've stopped growing. You don't have to carry the weight of relationships that no longer reflect your vision. You are allowed to change. You are allowed to outgrow. You are allowed to protect your future by releasing your past. That's not selfish. It's necessary. When you choose people who breathe life into your goals, you breathe life into your future. You stop shrinking. You stop second-guessing. You start showing up with boldness, clarity, and conviction. You begin living in alignment with the version of you that's been waiting to lead. And everything around you begins to shift, not by chance, but by choice. Because when you surround yourself with strength, belief, and hunger, you become unstoppable. Not someday. Now. You're not obligated to carry the weight of relationships that no longer serve your growth. Loyalty is noble, but blind loyalty to people who keep you stagnant is a slow death to your potential. You don't have to keep explaining your dreams to those who are committed to misunderstanding them. You don't have to shrink your vision to make others comfortable. Growth demands clarity, and clarity demands that you stop pretending that energy doesn't matter, because it does. Every interaction either builds your fire or buries it. Every conversation either waters your purpose or poisons it. And when you start to see people through the lens of their effect on your future, everything changes. You begin to realize that not everyone deserves access to your mind. Not everyone earns the right to speak into your goals. There are people who will pull you into gossip, into comfort, into drama, just to keep you from rising. Not because they hate you, but because your evolution makes them confront their own stagnation. And that discomfort creates resistance. They don't want to see you elevate, not because they don't care about you, but because they've stopped believing it's possible for themselves. Don't let that become your ceiling. Don't let their fear become your future. You are here to rise, not to blend in. You are here to grow, not to stay loyal to old limitations. Every time you choose to protect your peace over pleasing others, you reclaim your power. Every time you walk away from low standards, you reinforce your identity. And identity is what dictates consistency. It's what determines whether you keep your promises to yourself when no one is watching. The right people remind you of those promises. They challenge your laziness. They confront your excuses. They hold up a mirror to your greatness, even when you forget it. And that reflection can be the difference between quitting and pushing forward, between staying the same and becoming more. You are the sum of what you tolerate. And when you stop tolerating mediocrity in your relationships, mediocrity starts to disappear from your life. You start thinking differently. You start moving with intention. You stop allowing comfort to distract you from calling. The people you choose either fuel your momentum or fracture it. Choose those who speak with clarity, who walk with purpose, who live what they preach, because their energy becomes your environment, and your environment becomes your results. This is not about perfection. It's about alignment. You don't need flawless people. You need focused people, people who respect your boundaries, honor your ambition, and challenge your complacency. When that becomes your standard, everything begins to shift, not instantly, but inevitably, because alignment creates acceleration. And when you're surrounded by those who remind you who you are and what you're capable of, you don't just move, you rise. You don't just chase goals, you embody them. And that's when transformation becomes permanent. That's when your life starts matching your potential. When you finally raise your standards, you don't just change your relationships, you change your destiny. The moment you decide that mediocrity is no longer welcome in your circle, the universe begins to respond. You stop attracting what is familiar and start drawing in what is aligned. Because who you surround yourself with is not just a reflection of where you are, it's a declaration of where you're going. And that declaration is written in your energy, your decisions, your boundaries, and your self-respect. You are not meant to remain in rooms where your vision is dismissed, your effort is ignored, or your voice is silenced. Your time, your presence, your potential, they are not cheap. Stop giving them away like they are. There comes a time when you have to stop waiting for others to validate your worth and start acting like someone who knows they are going somewhere. That means protecting your space not from hate, but from comfort, from people who say they support you but disappear when it's time to grow, from those who applaud your past but doubt your future. It's not just about cutting people off. It's about outgrowing the noise that drowns your clarity. It's about walking in such alignment with your goals that anything not in tune with them feels heavy, unnatural, out of place. You don't owe anyone an explanation for choosing progress. You don't have to apologize for making different decisions, setting firmer boundaries, or walking a path they don't understand. Growth is lonely at first because the path is narrow, but that narrow path leads to wide expansion. It leads to peace, confidence, and a level of purpose that doesn't need constant validation to feel real. It becomes real because it's built on intention, not attention. The right people won't need to be convinced to respect your evolution. They will celebrate it. They will push you higher, not pull you back. If someone is constantly questioning your vision, downplaying your ambition, or making you feel small for wanting more, it's time to listen to that discomfort. It's a signal, not of guilt, but of guidance. Your environment is always speaking. Pay attention to what it's saying about who you're becoming. The way people speak to you, support you, challenge you. It all reveals whether they are for your growth or for your stagnation. And once you see it clearly, you can't unsee it. You can't go back to pretending that negative energy doesn't shape your outcomes. You can't go back to settling for circles that feel safe but steal your fire. Every time you say yes to alignment, you say no to distraction. Every time you protect your focus, you protect your future. This is how transformation begins, not with some dramatic act, but with daily decisions to honor your evolution. You don't need everyone. You just need the right ones. Because when you're surrounded by people who reflect your highest self, your potential becomes your reality. And that's when you stop chasing change and start becoming it. The moment you begin to choose alignment over approval, you reclaim your power. Not the kind of power that screams or demands attention, but the quiet, unshakable strength that comes from knowing who you are and refusing to compromise that truth for anyone. That's the shift that turns uncertainty into clarity, noise into focus, and fear into fuel. You stop looking to the crowd for direction because you've already found your compass within. And when that compass is fixed on purpose, there is no space left for people who only know how to distract, delay, or drain. You don't rise by accident. You rise by decision. Every person you allow close to you either contributes to that rise or resists it. And resistance often wears the mask of familiarity. That's why it's so dangerous. It doesn't always feel like sabotage. Sometimes it feels like comfort, like loyalty, like we go way back. But history isn't a reason to stay stuck. Emotional attachment is not an excuse to tolerate environments that shrink you. You are not who you were. So why stay loyal to versions of yourself you've outgrown? You're not selfish for evolving. You're responsible for your energy, for your peace, for your future. Growth demands that you get intentional with your space, because who you allow in will influence what you allow out. Your thoughts, your standards, your confidence, your drive. Everything is impacted by proximity.